The golf swing can be a mystery for many golfers. No matter how many lessons they take or books and articles they read, improvement often feels out of reach, and sometimes all that information just makes things more confusing. The main issue is that most golfers don't fully understand how to use their body's force effectively to hit the ball, or they have a wrong idea about it. To simplify this, we need to revisit some basic physics we learned in school and think about Sir Isaac Newton's laws of motion. These laws explain the fundamental principles of movement and force. They apply not just to objects, but also to how we move our bodies, including how we swing a golf club. By understanding these principles, we can figure out how to use body force to increase clubhead speed and hit the ball more effectively. Sir Isaac Newton's three laws of motion are fundamental principles that explain how objects move and interact with forces. These laws are the foundation of classical physics and are used to understand and predict motion in the world around us. Newton's laws help us understand motion in every aspect of life, from simple tasks to advanced technology, making them essential for modern living. For instance, transportation, cars, airplanes, and rockets rely on Newton's laws to design engines, calculate forces, and ensure stability. Technology, robots and machinery are engineered to apply precise forces for desired motions. Everyday activities, from opening doors to riding bicycles, Newton's laws explain the forces at work. Sports, athletes use these principles to improve performance, such as generating more force for acceleration in sprinting or serve in tennis and golf swing. Newton's first law of motion, the law of inertia. Newton's first law of motion states, an object will remain at rest or move at a constant velocity in a straight line unless acted upon by an external force. This law introduces the concept of inertia, which is the tendency of an object to resist changes in its state of motion. Let's learn some key points. First, objects at rest. Stay at rest. If no force acts on an object, it will remain stationary indefinitely. Example, a book on a table will not move unless pushed. Second, objects in motion. Stay in motion. If an object is already moving, it will continue moving in the same direction and at the same speed unless a force, like friction, slows it down. Example, a rolling soccer ball will keep moving until friction or another force, like a player's foot, acts on it. Third, inertia and mass. The amount of inertia an object has depends on its mass. Heavier objects have more inertia and require more force to change their motion. Newton's second law of motion states that the acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the net force acting on it and inversely proportional to its mass, mathematically expressed as F equals ma os war. When an object moves in a circular path, it experiences centripetal acceleration directed toward the center of the circle. According to Newton's second law, the force responsible for this acceleration is the centripetal force. Examples of forces acting as centripetal force: tension in a string. When an object is spun in a circle on a string, the tension provides the centripetal force. Centripetal force is not a separate force, but the net force acting toward the center, which may arise from tension, gravity, friction, or other forces. The second law explains that the greater the mass of the object, or the smaller the radius, the larger the required centripetal force for a given speed. Newton's laws combine to explain how circular motion requires a constantly changing velocity vector, direction change, which implies acceleration even at constant speed. All golfers are interested in how to create and increase club head speed, and although individuals have different physical aptitudes that allow for generation of speed and power, all golfers can maximize their potential with the correct application of force. For the golf swing, the most important factor affecting the travel distance of the ball is the speed of the club head at the moment of impact with the ball. That is a reasonable statement to make, and probably one that few would disagree with. However, where the confusion lies is in how does the golfer accelerate the club head to achieve maximum speed at impact. To better understand and conceptualize how to generate this force, just think about the track and field event, the hammer throw. There is a pulling force through your body felt in your shoulders and arms. This is a key point to remember. The pulling force is to your body, not to the hole or the fairway. Regardless of what the sporting activity is, when the objective is to throw, strike, or kick an object, ball, for distance, The continuous power source of motion is from the ground, theoretically by feet. This brings us to Newton's third law. For every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. The ground will give us exactly the same magnitude of force we give it in the exact opposite direction. For example, if I weigh 130 pounds and I stand still, the ground is applying exactly 130 pounds of force vertically, opposite direction of my weight, back at me. A key point to remember is that forces happen in pairs, and one is always equal and opposite to the other. Good golfers keep balance very well because their left foot, lead foot for right-handed golfers, pushes down through the ground firmly at the impact zone to create the proper force to offset the centrifugal force, outward-seeking force of the club head. This is Newton's third law in action. The swing power is generated with the cooperation of the legs, the core, the torso, the shoulders, arms, and wrists. The lower body, core, and torso need to be strong and powerful to generate the force, while the shoulders and arms need to be at the correct structure to be with the lower body and spine without any energy leaks. The arms and wrists are simply middle parts like the radius. They do not necessarily need to be strong, but should be tough enough and at the right position, tension-free and whippy, although good grip strength is important to hang on to the club, especially as the forces increase. This is one reason why it is difficult for golfers to stay in posture or stay in the box. The problem is the intention of how to apply the force is wrong, and until this concept changes in one's mind, it will not be possible to stay in posture. Newton's three laws of motion form the cornerstone of classical mechanics, providing a framework for understanding motion and forces in the physical world. The first law introduces the concept of inertia. The second law quantifies the relationship between force, mass, and acceleration, and the third law describes the nature of interactions between objects. These principles not only explain everyday phenomena, but also drive technological advancements and scientific discoveries. By mastering these laws, we gain powerful tools for analyzing and predicting physical interactions, opening doors to understand actions of golf by physics and engineering.